The law! Welcome to Retrospective Rants, where I am not the law, but your semi-humble host, Joey Huff. And today, I shall rant about the law! Not any particular law, just, the concept of law as a whole. Whew. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. For me. So, first off, let's get a very basic, very workable definition of what the law is and what it's for. The law is the means by which we interact with each other in as peaceful and beneficial a way as possible, all under the supervision of rules made in as logical and reasonable manner as possible, with respect to the personal dignity of all parties involved. And yes, there's more to it than that, and I can hear all of the legal collegiates frothing at the mouth already, but we're going to stick with this basic definition. Even though there are also more concise ones, but they also use bigger words that I don't know if I can pronounce correctly. Anyway, the law is meant to be good for the human existence. It's a safety net, if you will, that protects us from each other and sometimes from ourselves. Now you might ask, what keeps the law going? What keeps it strong? What makes it strong, rather? And to paraphrase from Warhammer Fantasy, faith and gunpowder. Now, I'm not even joking. Without faith that the law is worth following, then the law is just words to the uncaring. And without the means to enforce the law, those words are air against the defiant. And that is the conundrum, though, isn't it? Is law just the strong, as in the strong people, doing as they like? I would say no, because then there would be no need to codify it and write all these rules and make sure everybody knows them and blah blah blah. And that goes counter to the idea of survival of the fittest, where the people with the biggest muscles and the most guns would just do what they say, or do as they wish, regardless of codification. That means there is something in the law that holds sway in other men with guns and strength, men who aren't assholes who believe in survival of the fittest. That means something inspires faith in the pursuit of happiness through dialogue and procedure, tedious as those might be, over wanton violence. And that means the law is worth preserving on its own merits, not just as a means to impose strength, but as a means of ensuring both common good and increased common good. This means that everyone benefits, and that defiance of the law, or good laws, by any man, strong or weak, is enough to annoy and disenfranchise anyone and everyone. Now, laws worth defending are laws that encourage protection and development, not those that reward entitlement or a singular attribute, meaning wealth, power, or raw physical strength. So, we make more laws, confirming and developing how society should function even as it changes. And this is all in the hopes of negotiating through the wants and needs of the weak, the powerful, the virtuous, the pragmatic, and to establish a state where playing nice with everyone is in fact best for everyone. That is the purpose of law, the reason and the cycle of its existence. But even if we make a mistake, and even if one person makes a foolish law, we, as people, can count on our collective self-preservational instinct to point us in the direction of fixing that mistake and restoring some kind of equilibrium under the law. So, the law is good, and I'm still annoyed with it. Why? There's an old argument about laws and people. Good people don't need laws because they already know how to behave. And bad people don't care about laws, so they won't care to obey them. Therefore, what is the use of law? Or rules, or morals, or whatever. Now, as fun as it is to play with extremes, let's pretend, just for a moment, that most, perhaps 98.9% of people living and who have ever lived and ever will live are not born as pure heroes or villains. As babies and children, we learn from our environment, and as adults, we learn by stubbing our toe into the mystery of life, to put it politely. And the law allows us to do this in the form of a lawfully run society and environment, dedicated towards achieving and increasing the common good. We learn and we grow into better people. That's the ideal. And despite all changes and disconnects that might happen between generations, states, and technological bases, the ideal works. Yes, there are conflicts of interests both in the houses of law and in the streets that happen because of disagreements over the law and what's right and what have you. But history tells us that it would be much worse if people didn't at least agree on the idea that there is a common good worth preserving via adherence to the law. There is disagreement on the nature of the common good and how to achieve it, yes, certainly, but we are all the better for the fact that we have been taught the existence of a common good, and we are all indebted to the founders of any good or lawful society for teaching us the worth in preserving that common good, meaning that for all our social divisions, we are still united in the pursuit of happiness under the rule of law and nation. And it's still a compensatory measure. The world is not perfect, or, more accurately, we are not perfect. Our understanding remains incomplete, and so our ability to adapt to the difficulties of life remains the same. This is true of personal life and certainly of communal existence in the same nation, let alone the entire planet or, heck, an entire cosmos. And so all our arts and sciences must continually adapt with our understanding in the hopes that we can make sense out of all the noisy data around us. And it will never end until the end. For all our accomplishments, we find ourselves in a dual struggle to preserve those accomplishments in memory while also building from them, and this expands throughout all of human existence, history to who knows. The point I'm making here is that while one generation might learn, they also have to preserve what they've learned and teach it to future generations, while also trying to build something new. And this is then expanded to every person ever, across time and generations. It's not easy. Some people might even say we failed. To put it simply, though, I don't hate the law, not really. I hate that we will need it forever, and we will need it to grow and change forever. It's another reminder of our helplessness against death and our own baser nature. Well, that's the weakness of human law, anyway. But that is another discussion. For now, I'd recommend that we all be content that we've gotten where we are at all. And while we may not see the best end in our lifetime, we can at least appreciate all that the law and its makers have given us. It's definitely the best way we can live, and it's the best way we are living. And that's another rant over. Thank you so much for listening to Retrospective Rants, and have a good one.